Well, now that we're onto the subject of Israel, let's talk about the developments to the UK's policy towards Israel and Palestine under the
Yeah.
new Labour government of Sir Keir Starmer. So, yeah, you asked me about this earlier, didn't you?
Yeah. Because, well, the one small W I'd heard is that supposedly the government's no longer seeking to contest Netanyahu's arrest warrant.
Yeah, with the International Criminal Court. Yeah, they've dropped the legal objection, which brings them in line with standard opinion in the global foreign policy community, because the only other country that was pushing that challenge was the United States.
Right.
So initially, they briefed that they were going to limit or possibly even ban arms sales to Israel. The ban would only apply, though, to offensive weapons, and Britain would still be selling Israel lots of defensive weapons.
Weapons that can automatically tell the difference between babies and adults, and
There's one thing we know about the state of Israel. It's that when it says it's defending itself, it is always acting in the purest and most noble manner.
The most moral army in the world.
So that whole decision about arms sales to Israel has been kicked down the road for several months.
Hoping people will forget.
It seems that like some kind of domestic internal party pressure brought Starmer around to dropping this plan to even somewhat limit arms sales to Israel, which it seems like they're taking all these months to decide specific types of weapons that are okay to sell to Israel. That's basically what they're like. No, that weapon is bad. That weapon is bad. So we'll just give them a load of these nice weapons, and what they do with them will surely be benevolent and pure.
We're going to give them super soakers and water balloons and
exactly the kind of stuff Ares plays with, I'm sure. Yeah, the kind of just stuff lying around any household with children.
Some bubble blowers.
But senior Jewish Labour stakeholders, and this is from the newspaper Jewish News, which we read the expose of the Corbyn campaign from last time. So I assume this is probably written by Lee Harpin, who's plugged in with all the biggest belligerent right-wing Labour dipshits.
Do they not do bylines?
I'm just looking at a screenshot and I can't be asked to look up the link. Okay. I just assume Harpin. This is Harpin thought. Senior Jewish Labour stakeholders took part in frank and engaging discussions with government ministers ahead of the decision to delay a decision on suspending arms sales to Israel, Jewish News understands. During one such discussion, a leading communal figure and key supporter of Prime Minister Keir Starmer, expressed concern about the expected confirmation by Foreign Secretary David Lammy that the government would go ahead with a decision to halt the sale of all weapons deemed to be used in an offensive fashion in Gaza. The loyal Labour supporter is understood to have complained, "The politics of this are awful. Some of us have family members living in Israel, putting their lives at risk on the front line."
Come on.
Now, somebody said, I think this is like Akehurst. No, it's not. No. Because Luke Akehurst, remember, is not Jewish, has no actual connection to the state of Israel in a familial sense, and is just a weird fetishist who loves war. So I suspect strongly, especially because that quote given to Lee Harpin / somebody else at Jewish News is incredibly whiny and annoying in tone, that this is my good friend Mike Katz, not to be confused with Israel Katz, the Foreign Secretary of Israel. This is Israel supporter Mike Katz, who actually is Jewish and could conceivably have some family in Israel, unlike Luke. Luke's just like, I've got loads of business contacts there from his days at Bicom. But I think that's interesting, because I was wondering why Mike Katz, who always defends everything that Starmer does, as Starmer showing his deep commitment to rooting out anti-Semitism and doing everything he can to help the Jewish community. I thought it was really odd for all these Labour policy announcements were coming out to do with Israel and Palestine, and that Mike Katz was just nowhere on this. And it seems like that was simply his public face. And behind the scenes, our boy Mike was putting in a little word with important people in the Labour Party to tell them, wouldn't want anything to happen, would you? Wouldn't want some stories in the press about Labour anti-Semitism. Wouldn't want that, would you? Play nice. So that is one non-development on the Labour Party, the Labour government's policy towards the Israel-Palestine conflict. Weapons sales, arms companies, if any of you are listening, don't worry, guys. You've not got to put all your eggs into the Ukraine basket right now. There's still business opportunities in Israel. So in addition to that, Starmer then met Isaac Herzog, the Israeli Prime Minister, in Paris, and reassured him that he supports Israel's right to self-defense, with all those defensive weapons, and that there is no equivalence between Israel and the terrorist organization Hamas.
Good. All new stuff. Exciting developments.
Yeah, exactly. A sea change in British government policy towards Israel and Palestine. In fact, today, David Lammy was saying Labour confirmed in Parliament today that it has ditched its plans to recognise a Palestinian state. Now, remember, they had already amended their policy on recognition of a Palestinian state from the Miliband and Corbyn era policy of immediate recognition to a policy of recognizing it at such time that you can guarantee a viable Palestinian state in a safe and secure Israel or some shit. Recognizing it when the fuck Israel says it can be recognized, okay? Which, if like me, you spent a bit of time reading the Likud Wikipedia page last night, you should have a clear idea is fucking never. So David Lammy confirmed in Parliament today, thanks to Stats for Lefties for this, but Labour has ditched its plans to recognise a Palestinian state. This is clearly concrete facts. I'm saying concrete facts. Because none of those bootlicking fucking nerds always at it with the community notes have been able to slap one on this fucking Stats for Lefties tweet. Come at me, you cunts. Fucking community note this, you pieces of shit. Fucking big middle finger. Community note that. Keir Starmer's a massive cunt. Community note that, you cunts. So rather than recognising a Palestinian state, according to David Lammy, Labour will instead delay recognition indefinitely, making it conditional on Israel feeling safe and secure as part of a credible and viable peace process.
You know what they always say, justice comes at the convenience of the oppressor. And don't need to fight it. We'll just wait.
So some people may forget that Jeremy Corbyn is now an independent MP. So he is still in Parliament and he is able to ask questions of the government. And Jeremy Corbyn asked whether the Labour government would comment on the pretty damning ICJ rulings against Israel, which basically accused them of everything in the book, up to and including apartheid. And Jeremy Corbyn was told by, I don't think it was Lammy, I think it was one of his stooges, it doesn't matter really, he was told by the government minister, it's complicated. So that's the official Labour government. So the official Labour government line on whether or not Israel is committing apartheid is a Facebook relationship status.
Yeah.
Then Keir Starmer was asked at a parliamentary Labour Party meeting the other day to put further pressure to achieve an urgent ceasefire in Gaza. And what he told the parliamentary Labour Party was, "This subject will be discussed, negotiated and fought for at the highest levels on the world stage. The alternative is standing on street corners and protesting. Ultimately, only one of those will deliver change."
It is decided on the world stage. Like, everybody except for, 5 countries is in agreement.
Deciding as it is. It's been Britain and a couple of other countries digging their heels in.
He's just such a fucking wanker, man. Even that answer, it just turns into, and Jeremy Corbyn's a cunt. It's just... Yeah, it's just literally the same pathetic stuff of just I love power, I love having power, I love other people.
I'm not going to do anything with it, but I could if I wanted to, so I'm better than you.
If you don't like power, then you're not a serious person. If you don't fucking... Yeah, he's such a detestable piece of shit. You have to say, just What a fucking cunt. So, yeah. Has that put your mind at rest about the Labour government's fucking policy on Israel and Palestine?
Yeah, sounds great. Wonderful stuff. I'm glad there's been so much change from the Tories.
Yeah, Change UK, the independent group for change. We have changed the things that need changing.